Yeah, I'm always intrigued by and excited to think about my identities in the context of my work as a psychologist and as a provider. I think that my identities as a man, as a Black man, as a Black queer man, show up differently across different clinical relationships I've had. One of the tools that I do rely on is intersectionality, because it helps me to sort out the power dynamics that might come up between myself as a therapist and my clients that might be playing out within the therapy room. A clear example of this is the fact that, you know, I'm very clearly and visibly a Black man, and I have worked with a number of white women as a therapist. And one of the things that intersectionality tells me is that the types of dynamics, such as racism or sexism, and how and when they show up really shifts across time and across context. And so what that means is that sometimes I'm working with a client who might differ from me in terms of both race and gender. And sometimes race is really up and might be shaping our interaction. Maybe there's some anti-Black racism that has made its way into our dynamic in some way. And that might be the most salient thing in our interaction on one day. But on another day, gender and patriarchy might be something that I really need to be considering in how I'm intervening upon or conceptualizing this client. Sometimes, as intersectionality tells us, both of these things might be somehow at play. And so this idea that identities, that power dynamics are ever shifting, like a kaleidoscope, is a key component of intersectionality. I think one way is that as someone who, both from my own experience and from the communities in which I belong, I've learned in a firsthand way, I'm very clear that issues of race and racism and issues of identity more broadly are clinical issues. And that's not a notion that is shared or adopted by all therapists. For many people, issues of culture, of identity, of race are important considerations, but they're really on the periphery of what they think is the more core concern that we need to be focused on in psychotherapy. And I certainly have cases where issues of race and racism are either not central or are not even that deeply relevant. So that certainly can happen. But I'm also aware that there are numerous cases in which individuals' identities and the experiences they have and the stressors they have associated with those identities are central to the overall functioning and well-being of that individual, that I believe that they need to be centered and dealt with the same level of thoughtfulness, care, sensitivity that we would deal with people who have a diagnosis that is more clearly and cleanly represented in the in the list of disorders that psychotherapists might be thinking about. And so I can say for myself, as a Black clinician, it is nearly impossible for me to minimize the role that race can play in mental health. I'm always aware of the ways that it can both drive and exacerbate existing mental health concerns.